course. Roll call, please.
Mogul,
Here.
Jenna Barnett. Here. Rick Weinhopper.
Here.
Ron Stanko.
Here.
And Bill Banks.
Here.
Okay, any public comment at this time? Only one of the public here, so. Go on to fire chief interviews. Sorry, I missed those yesterday. I was sick.
Jana filled in your absence.
Thank you.
Jana, Bill and I interviewed the two candidates, and other than saying that we are still reviewing their merits and may want to conduct additional interviews, that's all we have to share for now.
Okay. So the motion that's here is just to table it.
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Recommendations and motions table until further interviews, et cetera, are conducted. Item 5, administrative review and 2026 pay increases. This is for administrative staff. That was attached to your agenda. And when I reviewed it, the first thing that jumped out at me was the 4%. That does not jibe with what we've done with the police and what we're doing with BW, Public Works. I think it's too high. I don't know what the right number is, but that's something we need to discuss here.
I would somewhat disagree. So history for admin going back to 22, 23, 24, 25, we got 3% across the board. Fire department, 23, 24, 25, and 26, 3.5%. PD, 25 through 27, they're getting 3.75%. Public Works, currently at 3%, proposing 4.5% for 26, and then 3.5% for 27 and 28.
One was a catch-up.
That was fire department, I believe.
Oh, no. So the Public Works was a higher one the first year that we discussed. Still not agreed to. That was 544 is what they presented.
Correct.
You're okay with the 5 because that brings them up. But we didn't agree to the 4. Social Security looks like it's estimated coming in at 2.5, 2.75, something like that. I just can't agree with it. I don't know. Any other comments?
I go along with you. You know, with the, it's hard not to stay within the cost of living increase. Okay, which is, 2% they're estimating. And Social Security, as you said, 2.5, 2.7, but cost of living is going to be 2%, they're saying, forecast. So that's my thoughts on that.
I could make the same argument for admin that Public Works is making for the cost of living increase from 24 to 25. And we were in the same boat that we only got 3% for the past 4 years. So, I mean, knowing what inflation was in 23 and 24 compared to what it is now, I understand. But then you can make the argument that we deserve an increase for prior years and a catch up.
Yeah, but I don't want it forgotten that, those are 3-year contracts. Here's just, we're doing it by the year.
Well, but the point is that they were falling behind
No, I agree.
compared to other employees. I also,
I like they were falling behind versus inflation generally.
right,
That's why I may ameliorate my position, but I want to make sure that if inflation continues to go down, which it looks like it's going to, that we just can't keep doing 4%.
well, inflation's going down, but the cost of groceries is skyrocketing. I mean, I
Can't argue that either.
the cost of housing is going up. The cost of a whole bunch of things are really going up. So 2% is not the increase in people's expenditures. I would like to switch the subject slightly and ask, when is the last time we did a salary survey? Because I have no idea how these salaries compare to the market.
Last year, didn't we?
I get an annual survey from PSAB and compare, I mean, some of the categories like Melissa's position, sometimes it's in there as a secretary treasurer, sometimes just a secretary, and then they break it down by size of municipalities based off of population. So, sometimes it's taking an average of, we don't fit exactly in a category or a position doesn't fit, so it's taking an average. We're, I would say, mid to high range of similar municipalities for our wages.
Well,
And can you look at geography? When I was on the school board, we made sure that when we were comparing salaries, we looked at the neighboring counties. I don't really care how you compare to Potter County.
Yeah,
I mean, that's-
agreed.
well, it would seem to me that you have two things going on here. Number one, as you pointed out, we have no idea what's going on around us, so we should know that. But most importantly, I think we're so close to each other that we're all friends. Well, we're a government agency, and I can remember we went 5 years without a raise, 5 years without a raise. And we were all people that looked at each other and said, boy, groceries are going up in price. And nobody in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania said, oh man, I feel really bad. So I don't even know what anybody makes here. So we ought to really start out with, how much does everybody make now? And how much are the surrounding communities paying their people? And then maybe that becomes relevant. But for just getting raises every year to be here, I should have not gone to work where I was. I should just stayed here, because you get a raise every year and you're getting 4%. I didn't even.
raise every year as a council member?
No.
I get a raise.
But we should.
From
vote
0 to
ourselves-
0.
We should vote ourselves a raise, because we take this theory that, oh, what about Wyomissing? Oh, they don't pay anybody because they're Wyomissing and everybody's rich there. So we just work for free. And yet we turn around and we just throw money at everybody else when it's a government agency. We should act like good government, not just make stuff up as it goes along. And then decide, oh, we'll give people bonuses. Bonuses for what? I mean.
We didn't get
Let's-
there.
let's-
We didn't get
hold
there
on,
yet.
Oh, all right, I'll keep
Hold on.
that
But the
story.
salaries, Ronnie, the salaries are there.
Yeah.
The question is, the question is that you raised is, how do they compare?
Right.
And then she said she got a comparison.
The other thing you can't factor in that the comparison from PSAB doesn't give me is, I've been here 17 years, Phyllis has been here 17 years, Jim's been here 25 years. I mean, the longer someone is in their position, typically the salary is going to increase.
Or it'll be higher than what other people might be around if they had 3 years' experience.
Well, but then
You can understand
when
that.
you hire a replacement from
Yeah.
outside, you
But,
find out
but
how
this,
far
I don't
behind
know
you've
if the
been.
survey says that, Ron.
I don't either, but I think we should see the survey. Why does Michelle, is the only one that has a survey? Let's see the survey.
Well, I accept her.
Well, that's all
Summary
right.
of
I don't think she's lying to us, but it'd be nice to sit here and look at it, because I'm looking at this. I couldn't figure that out looking at it here, so I probably had to study it to figure out what I was looking at.
Was it possible to get the survey?
Yeah. I mean, not right this minute.
No.
Yes.
And is there great difficulties with deferring this to
I mean,
subsequent meeting?
no, it's gonna be deferred. I mean, the motion on the agenda was to send it to finance, subject to budget discussion, so.
The finance would be in the beginning of November and it get to, so it would be from November board meeting, December council meeting.
Well, actually, it could start as early as, oh, no, it can't, it's not 24 hours, but, or 48, but in fact, it could be part of the budget discussion. It has to be part of the budget
Oh,
discussion.
yeah.
I mean,
That was the intent.
it's overall part of the individual line items.
Can I ask why one of the part-time employees has a much bigger increase than
Um,
anybody else?
Based off her current rate, the type of work that she does, and the agenda item further on about bringing in a higher level part-time person, to me, for how long Kathy's been here, and which would be Yoder, Kathy Yoder, the volume and efficiency of work that she produces, she deserves to be at a higher rate than a brand new person we're bringing in.
She's like Phyllis's assistant.
She does a phenomenal job.
I thought we hired hired, I guess is the correct word. We hired a assistant for Phyllis.
You mean the summer kid?
He was an intern.
Intern.
All right.
He
we
was
hired an
even
intern.
part-time at that, wasn't he also working at Public Works?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm just
And
asking,
he's back at
was
college
he a
now.
paid intern?
Yes, I think he was making $15 an hour.
Okay, so we hired a paid intern, but we also want to give Phyllis a raise or a bonus. So why do we need an intern? I mean, one or the other doesn't make sense.
the explanation for the intern was that essentially he's interested in public administration, and this was.
It's just a summer gig.
It was learning, it was a learning.
I voted-
Yeah, but we were paying the person.
Okay, but you voted for it.
I don't know if I did. If I
Yes,
did,
you- yes.
I mean, if I voted,
I'm
that's
the only-
great. I
I was the
voted.
only stinker in the
Okay,
group.
so
I
now
voted-
I'm not voting for a bonus or an increase for Phyllis because she had somebody else working. So how much above and beyond the call of duty do you get?
Have you
You
ever,
hire an assistant too.
have you ever had an intern? It's more work to have an intern than do it yourself. No, understand.
My world was.
24.
When we get to bonuses, I can also explain some of the things with all of the positions that I don't think council has an understanding of what goes into each job.
We're
I
not,
know, that's why I said when we get to that.
yeah, because we need an explanation.
Okay, can we, for budgetary purposes, could we agree on a range? That might be helpful for tomorrow's discussions and other discussions before. I mean, could we agree, for example, that we're likely to agree on an increase of between 3 and 4? So,
What's your number, Fred? What do you feel comfortable with?
Well, doing the other contracts, there is a catch-up. So like I said, I may have to back off my initial conclusion. But I just can't see I can't justify anything higher than like 3.5. So I would say 3.5 in a,
3 to 3.5?
yeah, they can run different scenarios. I could say 3, 3.5, and 4.
You're still comfortable with Kathy at 5.5?
That's a lot.
I would be, given that explanation. Yeah. So we're talking minimum of 3.
Maximum of 4, 3 to
Maximum
4.
of 4.
And then, Michelle, get that survey around to everyone on the committee. And not sure how that will affect anything, but
Is there any context that you can add with the survey? Because you mentioned before, the survey is more raw numbers overall. Jenna mentioned around neighboring counties. Is there any way to split that out with the survey, or is the survey?
It does break down a bit geographically, and if not, I can certainly reach out to PSAB and ask if they're able to break it down further geographically.
We able to have that for tomorrow?
Try, I can't make any promises.
No, I know, I hope everybody understands that, why we're taking a close look at this is just because it has absolutely no reflection on the quality of the work that you and your staff are producing. We understand you're overworked, and, that's an understatement. But I just want it clear that our discussions here today have nothing to do with the quality of work that you and your staff are doing.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I know they do as well.
I echo that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just kind of keeping everything in parity.
it would seem to me that if we had a real understanding of what's going on in the world out there, that we would say, okay, let's give, if we're really interested in annually doing something, which is never the situation every else in the world, at least where I worked. If you got a raise, you didn't know you were getting one, and then you got one. So, but if we're going to operate under that everybody deserves to get a raise because, then we should say, okay, raises might be it, but bonuses and raises are nuts for government. So you can have one or the other, but you really don't need bonuses, because bonuses in the world government operates, you're all supposed to be working really hard. And to single somebody out just causes a problem with the people that didn't get singled out. Why? Because it wasn't snowing the day that I worked longer than you did? I mean, really doesn't make any sense except to create problems. So I would say one or the other. And a raise is great, 3.5. Nobody's going to get rich working here. If that's the way we want to go, that's the way I think we should go.
Well, that's kind of where we are on the agenda.
Yeah, but the bonuses are in there. So
Yeah, 5D, no, 5D, we're not,
all right, my answer is
so,
no.
so that we're really at B, which is 4, and we've asked her for some other stuff before we get there.
Okay. Sorry for
I
jumping.
mean, I will
And
say,
then, no, that's the next item. You're not trying,
but I would say that I find it odd that the group of administrators essentially gets the same raise, because I think some are more effective than others. And so this sort of treats you like union employees, that everybody is treated the same. And I'm used to a world where people who performed better got a higher bonus than people who didn't perform as well. But
I mean, that's effectively where the bonus comes in, because what I've heard loud and clear from prior discussions at this meeting every year is the committee and council would prefer to see it in a bonus for those individuals that went above and beyond, instead of a flat percentage rate on wages, which ties into pension and other things.
I mean, can I back up to C and just double check? It's because C's talking about the extra 1.5%. If we are only going up 3, is she only going up 4.5, or is she still going to go up 5.5 to 5.5 either way? I just want to kind of make that clear.
That's a discussion for the committee.
So your intention is to get Kathy, regardless of what other discussion would be,
Up to
rate of
$28.
$28 an hour. Is that correct?
Correct.
I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with 5.5 if everybody else is only at 3, if that's where it ends up being when it's all said and done.
yeah, I think that's a different explanation.
That's fine.
I mean, would it be better to word it in a way where,
Well, there's no vote.
understood, would it be better to think about it then, for a thought experiment, in a way of getting Kathy to the 28, and then she would not be subject to the additional raise percentage? Is that fair?
Or just, carve her out,
Right, just carve her out of that.
have a different function for her.
I have no problem with that.
Thank you, yeah, it was there, he made it.
There's no motion, but
It's not a
It's
vote.
part of a future.
It's not to 28 and then 4%. It's.
Good idea.
all right, you can go back to D.
A good clarification to make.
$1,000 in bonus. Wow.
So I think we need a
It's a big nut.
motion to table, what I'm gathering, motion to table recommending finance committee include 2026 approved budget 4% wage increase for administrative staff.
I'll make the motion that we table it, moving on to finance.
With the understanding to give them a 3 to 4 range that they can look at
Yes.
for projection, budget projection.
Table, I was saying, how do you table but move it on?
Well,
Well,
Sure.
I'm tabling it here. In other words,
it's a recommendation to council to table at this. We make a motion to move it on to finance.
it's ultimately, we're not going to do anything here with it. I mean, we gotta see, it's gotta go to finance and budget
Yeah,
to
it's a-
decide what's gonna happen.
It is, it's a motion to recommend the finance 3 to 4 range for purposes of draft budget.
Well, if we have a,
Except for Kathy Yoder.
Right.
so except for Kathy, on that, because she's not one of us, she's the person we're talking about. But we're all here, so we're moving it on to council. We're gonna turn around and look back at ourselves and say, here we
Steve's
are
not
again.
here.
What's that?
Steve's not here, and he's head of finance.
You gotta
We
run a
can
bit.
get outvoted real fast by 6 to 1, right? I mean, but,
The finance has to put together a budget.
Yeah, this has to all go into a budget.
but it'd be nice if we gave,
Those budget numbers are not pretty.
Yeah, if we give this, if we give everything here, we're gonna take away somewhere. I'll guarantee you that right now.
well, it seems to me that if we do what we're suggesting we're going to do, is to, each of us think about what we just did, and each of us will probably come up with a different conclusion as to what we just agreed to do. And then we'll come back when we're sitting here again, because we're the ones we're forwarding it to figure out what the hell did we do, and then how do we want to do this, and how does it fit into the budget?
Job security.
Job security for us, right?
That's why Melissa takes minutes.
Yeah, okay.
My council gets paid by the hour.
That's right.
So speaking of, I don't think that motion was seconded.
Second,
Okay,
at least I know I did something.
any further question on the motion? So, just to be clear, the motion is to move it on to finance. Estimate budget stuff between 3 and 4 for administrative staff, except for Kathy Yoder. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, ayes have it. The next motion is to recommend to council, but that's premature at this point. So I think that should be a motion to table that, to move it on to council, the 4%, and I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table the recommending to council now, as opposed to what we did with the finance committee. Does everybody understand the motion?
You wanna repeat that again, please?
Is that right?
Yeah, the motion is needed to, in essence, table recommending council approve a 4% wage increase for administrative staff, an additional 1.5 for Kathy, subject to finance and council approval of the 2026 budget. But I don't think we're there yet.
That's what we just did.
That's what the last motion was.
Yeah, right,
That's
right,
the last-
right, right.
Last motion was
Motion and
go to
second.
finance.
Right.
Yeah,
And Fred's saying,
then you don't
we don't
go,
go to council.
then you don't go to council
No.
yet without going to finance first.
Right, right, okay.
And it says subject to finance, but I think it's easier to understand this.
Chris, do we need both? I mean, it seems to me inherent in sending it to finance is not sending it to council, but
It's better to have it explicit, I think.
Yeah, I prefer the separate motion. I think it does provide some clarity.
And is table the right one or deny?
Table.
Okay, so
Well, the-
motion is second, the table will get it to, sending it to council, recommending it to council.
Well, the weird thing is, we forward it to finance, and then finance forwards it to council.
Yeah, the whole.
So the
budget
only
will be-
difference is that less people are on finance than we're on this personnel. So that's okay, I don't care. If it goes from finance to council, it's still the same thing. There's just fewer people sending it forward because the finance is sending it forward.
Yeah, fine, let it, it's the whole thing,
Because
it's just a
the whole
formality.
Yeah, the whole mess is going there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole budget will come before us, and if we don't like parts of the budget, you don't have to vote for it.
Yeah,
come on, be there, be square.
All right, motion second's been made, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, ayes have it. Okay, now we're to bonuses.
I'm gonna preface this by saying for 25's budget, we budgeted keep in mind deputy chief and fire chief are part of administrative overall wages. We budgeted $186,000. We're gonna end the year at 90,000, having actually spent, because we decided to not commence hiring of a deputy chief, and your fire chief wages with vacation time and everything else were only paid through September.
You have a
So
$90,000 reserve?
96, if I'm,
96, okay.
Well, Steve's not here, so of course.
he's aware, I've had this conversation with him. So again, looking at that line item, I know Phyllis and I talked about this and she made a comment at finance that some of that quote unquote reserve is offsetting fire department overtime costs, but you would have had this expense plus the overtime cost
Anyway,
either way. I'm just gonna go in the order that they're listed on the agenda individually. So first would be Phyllis, to kind of circle back to the conversation about interns and assistants. I don't think anyone realizes, and I can confirm this because I send Phyllis emails pretty much every Saturday and Sunday morning, and Phyllis replies instantaneously. She is working on weekends, payroll. I mean, I have had an eye-opening experience doing fire department payroll on Sundays now. The amount of time that goes into the 3 contracts, whether it's public works, PD, or fire, just acting as holiday pay. Then you have someone that's acting as something on a holiday and having to go through and compute, okay, on this day they worked so many hours at this rate and so many hours at that rate. It's a lot to not only comprehend, but also to do every 2 weeks. You know, her and I have had conversations, just attempting to schedule her vacation time is sometimes impossible because of how payroll falls, and knowing it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you know, she's probably putting in 2 to 3 hours on a Sunday in addition to Monday and Tuesday all day in the office getting payroll ready. And then you throw in when it's month end and a budget meeting coming up, that's a lot. You know, consistently working on holidays, because again, people want to get paid. This year, the way Christmas and New Year's fall with payroll and year end, she's probably going to be working on Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. And she doesn't complain about it. She understands it's the reality of the job, but I don't know many positions out there where that is an expectation. And it's going to be interesting. She's likely retiring in the next 12 to 18 months. It's going to be interesting having her replacement come in and having a very frank conversation of, this is going to be what's expected of you, because this is the reality of the job. Her time putting together all the negotiation support for police last year, public works this year, construction loan management for the public works loan. We've never had debt service before. There was a lot of back and forth with her and PFM on different financial records that were required. Grant reimbursement, I mean, that's a whole new animal for both her and I. RACP was the biggest piece of that the past 2 years because the compliance documents that go along with that are extensive. Having to review the tax collector reports and correct them almost every month, having to do emails that the tax collector sends to her that she's not responsible for answering, but she ends up having to answer, real estate assessment tracking, and interim tax billing verifications. So, I mean, those are things that I think are above and beyond that council probably had no idea she was doing or responsible for. In terms of Greg, oh, and one thing I noted that ties to her and Greg, I should say, I forgot to note, she took the time to go through and create Excel spreadsheets for Public Works and the fire department, and where that has saved time for administration, but also for the employees is, you know, every Monday on payroll day, Greg or Jim would have to go to Public Works, grab all the timesheets, go out to the Parks Bar and grab all the timesheets, make sure they were back here, and then we'd have to go through and manually check everything. Same thing for the fire department. Each employee now has a password protected spreadsheet that only they have access to. So, you know, Sunday morning, I can go in on the public drive, go into the fire department folder, pull all their timesheets, compare it to the vacation time, make sure everything lines up there, make sure if this person was off, the person that was supposed to be covering matches up. Like the ease she has has gone to create the timesheet process And what it saved going back to an employee and asking a question, like everything is literally right there. Again, it's password protected, so nobody else can go in and mess with it. Her and Greg worked together on that for Public Works. And after setting those up, she then used that kind of as the test dummy to test it with fire. And now it's been working seamlessly with fire for about 6 to 7 months. So switching then to Greg, you have the spreadsheets going from paper to the spreadsheets for payroll. He created the division of the water and sewer department so that they could focus better on tasks specific to either sewer or water. I think the personnel improvements, having all gone through this committee, kind of speak for themselves in terms of actually creating job descriptions, actually creating lead descriptions, identifying and promoting people to those lead positions and holding them accountable, doing annual reviews, kind of holding their feet to the fire of maybe your contract says you're a lead and you get this rate, but here are some shortcomings that you need to work on, and mentoring them to get them to the point where they need to be. Something that came up as part of the Public Works contract negotiations, and Fred couldn't confirm this, you know, Greg's basically on call 24/7, 365, because if a resident calls in after hours and they get our answering service, that call's going to him first. It's not going to one of the Public Works guys. Greg's answering the phone, going through the list, making the phone calls as to, you know, who's available, who's going out. And, you know, sometimes he's had to go through a list of 17 employees twice till he gets a response or somebody gets back to him. So imagine the joy of doing that 3 nights in a row when there's a sewer backup in somebody's basement and then a water main break and then something else happens. He helped save the borough $80,000 coming up with the above ground fuel tank option at the garage. Him and Jim worked together, and this was discussed in infrastructure yesterday, saving anywhere from 30 to 50,000 by letting employees, our own employees, fix the force main break instead of paying Schleuf under the emergency contract. He has worked very well with the union prior to Teamsters, as well as now Teamsters coming in, and has gotten a lot of cleanup language in this contract that's going to be adopted that has nothing to do with rates and benefits and things like that, but management language to clarify what's being done when and by who. What do we have the right to say no to? You know, things that were just kind of let go for years that weren't priority. And he has spent a significant amount of time spelling out safety guidelines and then making sure employees are taking the training's tracked. Again, things we should have been doing but weren't. Switching to Melissa, I mean, I'm obviously very much aware of what she does in the day in and day out since her office is right down the hall for me. First and foremost, inundated this year with rates and no requests across the board. And not easy right to know requests, like in some cases going up in the vault and literally searching through resolutions, ordinances, meeting minutes going back 15 to 20 years. And yes, we can do a 30-day time extension, but that clock is still looming of this has to be done on top of meeting minutes, or it's open enrollment season right now. Like there's always other things that are vying for her attention. And when she gets 6 rates, no requests in the same day that all have a plethora of information that's being requested, she doesn't have a choice but to put in the time in and get it done. This week's a perfect example. She's on vacation Thursday and Friday. We have 5 meetings this week. And because she wants to get the minutes done before she goes out, knowing that what was discussed is fresh in her mind, even with the reporting now to be able to go back to, she's probably going to be working after rec board tonight until I don't even want to know what time to get those meeting minutes done. And I get nobody's forcing her to do that. It's her choice. But again, it's an example of people going above and beyond, and why I do think something above a standard wage increase is warranted. And circling back to myself, I mean, just the fact alone that I've been doing the fire chief's job since July, and at this point we'll be doing it likely through year end, on top of this has just been an insane year of things coming up that, you know, never came up before. We had the discussion, what was that, I guess, August, about all of staff and the time that we put in, you know, again, I'm working nights, weekends, vacation, holidays. And I think we all are people pleasers. We all enjoy, to some extent, going above and beyond and satisfying the end customer, whether that's a resident, a council member, a business owner, or whoever. But it's a lot. And, you know, some of us are definitely starting to feel the toll of burnout. And I mean, again, the justification for it is there's an inherent cost savings within the administrative budget this year, no matter what. But it's also a way to truly show us for staff members who the bonuses are being asked for. We see what you did and we truly do appreciate it.
Bring some good points, but, and I don't think there is, again, no, we appreciate that all the dedication and we know you're overwhelmed. We understand that. What I'm hearing from everyone though, and I think it needs to be separated, is you say, well, they did this. Greg can be called out 3 nights in a row and so forth. That's why he's salary. Okay? We got to separate the two, because when you're salary, yeah, if you have to work 60 hours a week, well, then that's the way it goes, you know, because it goes with the job. That's why it's a salaried job and not an hourly one.
I want to dispute that just really quick by saying that if every phone call is going directly to Greg, it shouldn't be. There should be certain nights that he gets the calls in the middle of the night and certain nights that Jim gets the calls in the middle of the night or somebody else gets the calls.
Well, that can be discussed at
He doesn't
another,
own the business. I mean,
that
my
can be
husband gets the
discussed at
calls.
another
Yeah,
time.
I'm just saying that's
But
above and beyond.
so we just need to be able to separate the two. We know they're great employees. You're all great employees. But we just need to separate between the justification for bonus versus what is expected as a salaried employee.
I don't think any employee here took their job expecting a 60-hour work week was the norm, to be honest. I don't think any salaried employee, I mean, if the expectation is I'm working a 60-hour week, I expect to be getting paid more than I'm getting paid because I have no life.
Well,
Do work hard.
when I started out talking about people that work for government, we're going to give a pay increase, then you have to start out with how much are we paying our people, which is the question we asked about the survey. I'd like to know how much people that are in the positions that these folks we're talking about now are getting paid in those environments. Now, if somebody's making $130,000 a year or $125,000 a year, and they take that job, and the person hires them says, okay, you're the boss, and these are your employees, you got to get this job done. Well, it doesn't say, yeah, but you don't have to work more than 60 hours or 40 hours. You work until you get it done. I mean, I'd work for hours and hours beyond and said, hey, wait a minute, I don't have a timesheet that says 48 hours, go home. You know, there is no such thing when you get in this environment. And if it starts with how much are people making, and we're not being fair to them, not paying them enough, then we just need to do that and not sort of, you know, start nickel and diming them. Every year we'll give you a couple more percent. Let's just pay them what they deserve, and then let's just move on. But to sort of cover it by saying, well, we're going to give you a raise, and then we're going to give you a bonus, it's like, what's all this about? Because the other employees that don't get bonuses, they're not blind. They didn't get a bonus. Where's Jim Babb's name? Seems to me that he's been out in the rain a lot in the last 25 years.
He's right here. He's here. He's here.
Where?
Top of the list.
Top of the list.
I think it's in,
No, it's
Not
not.
for- not for
You're
bonus.
looking at the wrong sheet.
Well, he's asking about the bonuses. He's
He's
not,
sticking with bonuses.
Oh.
And there's a justification.
Don't discourage
that I'm not going to discuss the personal or
Well,
in
that's
a public meeting.
That's not
because
the
it's-
way we do it, that you don't create animosity between personnel by saying we're going to give Capriola a raise or a bonus, not give Wynn to Bab, because you know damn well what's going to happen. Bab's not going to be happy, and Capriola's going to think he just won the 100-meter dash.
Well,
You know
Ron,
what? Can we close that door? There's,
I mean, we're in a public meeting.
oh, that's true. Yeah, forgot.
I mean, respectfully, Jim's retiring at the end of 26. We've already had the conversation between Jim and Greg about roles reversing next year, and that's already started happening in terms of Jim's not, I mean, perfect example, Jim's not taking the calls overnight or during the week because the employees are the responsibility of Greg, not Jim. So the roles have shifted since Greg became the Assistant Public Works Director. And Greg and Jim and I have met every 6 months. Okay, where are we at in the transition plan?
But when we hired Greg, he was to be assistant to Jim, and they were working together. Now we have a problem with poor Greg has to answer all these telephones because Jim Babb might be retiring in 2 years, so we're shifting all the responsibility back to one guy when we had two guys. We didn't hire Greg because Jim was leaving. We hired Greg to be a coordinated part of what we're doing. So these answers to these questions, it just confused the hell out of me because I know, I mean, if Jim doesn't leave this week, he may leave next week when he finds out that Capriola got a bonus and he didn't. He's been working his balls off for the last 25 years.
I think Jim would tell you that Greg deserves a bonus, and this is no different than the past 15 years. I can remember 2 admin people got a bonus and nobody else did. I can remember multiple years like Jim, Marty, and I'm trying to think of another former employee, got one and nobody else did, or Marty and I got one and nobody else did, or Phyllis and Marty got one and no one else did.
Well, again, I don't want to beat a horse to death, but we need to see all the information, what everybody's making, and then we get some idea what people make around the corner to us so we can be smart about what we're doing, and then we can figure it out. Because we don't have any information other than we're playing a violin about everybody who's making enough money, and we're talking about giving it to them 2 ways, an increase and a bonus. And none of it makes sense in the real world, but in Wyomissing, it's the way we do things.
well, if I can speak to,
The bonus is for work already performed. The wage increase is for future years.
if I can speak to the bonuses, it's, first of all, I think that the people being considered, I think our employees generally do a good job. And I think generally our employees are higher caliber and work harder than the average employee. I also think that the bonuses are appropriate when people have had to do work over and above their responsibilities, the normal responsibilities. Michelle's being in charge of the fire department since July certainly falls in that category, and I think because of that, $10,000 frankly is too little. And I would think we should be paying her maybe $3,000 a month for every month that she's had to add that responsibility. And because who knows when that's going to end. But in any event, I think in her description of why she's recommending bonuses, she gave examples of what people did, which was extraordinary this year. And to me, it was justifying bonuses for the past performance. And I would think for every case except Michelle, because I think she should have more, 10,000 is appropriate.
I would find it more realistic if there were some way to make each bonus customized as opposed to just saying a flat 10. I'm not, that's above my pay grade. But there's some
Percentage of salary?
No, I'm just saying for the over and above stuff, just like you were saying. And maybe Michelle deserves more and maybe, Randy deserves less than 10. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's got to be more customized. Otherwise, I don't know, it looks
Well,
like we're rubber
well,
stamping something. I don't
bonuses-
want to do that.
You know, bonuses, for the most part, in a company, you have your sales department. If your sales department, your salesmen, they have a number that they gotta meet every time. Okay? And if they go over that, then they're quote justified for getting something. Now, how far, what did they do to the gross profit? It was over, let's say, you had to make a 30%, at least profit margin, okay, on the items. Let's say Joe Blow did 36% profit margin, sold it for more money. So, yeah, he's justified. Here, some people, they did something, they developed a new program that ultimately saved us money, right? I forget who you said. That person definitely justifies, a bonus because they saved us money. That is what bonuses are intended for, because they gave something back that they didn't have to do, but they saw a need for it and they did it.
Melissa didn't save us money, but she works extraordinarily, she has to put in so much more time, and the aggravation of the.
I don't disagree.
Okay, but so saving us money can't be the only
It
criteria.
can't be the only criteria.
Right, but it should be in the back of our minds.
She saved us money in the sense that she has gone above and beyond her job.
Right.
She could have said, no, I'm not going to do this, and we'd have to have hired another
somebody
part-time
else.
Yeah.
employee. Michelle is working 2 jobs, doing the fire chief's job. I agree that the
You gotta get back to work.
explanations for each
Oh, you
of
want a
the
little
4
longer.
scenarios are appropriate. But yeah, I also think Michelle deserves more because,
I think, Greg,
Holmes has been gone.
I mean, as I walk out the door, my opinion would be, we trust in Michelle to come up with these determinations. She's not here asking for blanket bonuses across the board for every employee under what she reviews. I feel like we need to be able to instill that trust in our borough manager when they come to us to say, here's the employees that are being exemplary and who deserve those bonuses. I do also agree with Fred's comment that, 10,000 feels like an ill fit across the board. I think that there can be some sort of middle ground that we can look towards. I think perhaps some of the reports that we get from Michelle this week may shed some light on that, but they may not. I think it could be a real slippery slope for us to get down, but either looking at some percent or coming up with some metrics that maybe you can add into what sort of things would cause someone to qualify for those bonuses, I think are all quality things to look at down the road. But unfortunately, we don't have those in place right now. So it's hard to hold someone to a standard we haven't built yet. So I think that's inherent on us in this room to build that standard first if we want to be able to hold those people to say, hey, here's the bonus structure that we're going to account for 26, and then we can carry that forward to 27, or abandon it if we don't find it useful. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. See ya.
sure,
Be parts that are public. May I?
sure.
Well, again, to the point, nothing's personal what I'm going to say. It's not related to anybody. I think they're all doing a good job, but that's not the issue. I talk about the concept of bonuses. I've talked to, in the last week when I saw it was on the agenda, I talked to maybe 5 people. I talked to a partner, or got the information from another partner that does boroughs and townships. He said, yes, bonuses are legal, but they are not done. And all of his practice, all his townships and boroughs. Got the same information from, I talked to a couple borough people and a couple township people. They do not do bonuses. So I'm talking about the concept of bonuses. To me, it's very arbitrary. Yes, you mentioned all the things that you've done. As a salaried person now, I come back in the private industry. 60 hours a week was average. I used to travel on Sundays to be in Houston on Monday morning. I can't inventory Mexico City on a Sunday morning. So, those things, all those things that you mentioned, I think are part of the salaried person look to improve the job. I think that's inherent in any salary position. Yes, you inherit, that's wonderful to do it. And yes, sometimes things come up, the fire company, whatever, but over time, you're average. Now, if there is a question about salaries, perhaps we should look at their salaries and their duties. Say, okay, now wait a minute. Maybe she should be paid more because of her duties. I don't have a problem with that. I'm talking the concept of bonuses. I read one thing here, transparency and public trust. Historically, Pennsylvania has seen scrutiny over government bonuses. This history has led to efforts to ban or restrict such payments to regain public trust. When bonuses are paid to borough employees, the process is subject to public inspection and accountability. I can guarantee if this gets out on the street, and it probably will, it always seems to do, but anyway, people have a weary eye about bonuses. Saying, wait a minute, the public official, what's the basis that it's so arbitrary? So that's where I'm coming from. It's not individual people, it's the concept of bonuses. And we are clearly the exception in this area. Now, I don't know. To me, it's an indication that perhaps we're not going the right way.
Well, or like you said, or the salaries are incorrect.
Right. Go back and analyze, okay, hey, I'm working 60 hours a week. Well, okay, then maybe you do indeed deserve it. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
Researching the positions and saying, okay, yes, I do this, I do that. Okay, fine, then you do deserve more. That's fine. I don't have an issue over that. I'm talking the concept of bonuses. They have a leery eye with the public. They're very arbitrary and I just wholeheartedly disagree with them. So anyway, any questions or any?
Well, I'm confident that if the public were told that we lost the police chief in July.
I think that's an exception.
Well, that is, but it's an example of, if we lost the police chief in July and the
Fire chief.
Fire chief, yes, I'm sorry, yes. And,
Please do that.
Yeah.
so bang my head against it too.
Okay.
And she was taking, I think the bonuses are for additional work which we expect to not recur. If we expected it to recur, then that should be reflected in a salary increase. But if these are additional work which we expect to go away and then go back to their normal, then I think the only way to address it is bonuses. You're not going to change Michelle's base salary, to 150, 160 beginning in July and then turn her back to 130 or whatever it is if we ever hire a fire chief. That's not realistic. So I think the bonus is the most practical way to address a temporary increase and significant increase in duties. But I do appreciate your comment.
I think his idea makes the most, I mean, it's, he said in the beginning, we need to know what everybody makes to start with. And we need to know what their special jobs or special needs that we have to put them out further on the ledge to get more income. So we know that. But in things like, making Michelle the fire chief, I didn't know she became fire chief. Aren't there guys up there that could have been designated the guy that could watch over the place until we get a new one?
Not administratively.
Not that they're doing that day to day, but a perfect example is I had to mandate somebody Friday night because a union member can't mandate another union member. Somebody has to review and approve payroll. Somebody has to review and approve time off requests. Somebody has to help them put their budget together. I mean, the captains can't be responsible for that on top of everything they're doing. And there is a separation, because there's a separation between management and labor.
Is it documented or just because there is?
It's union regulations.
Oh, it is? All right, so you can't do both.
Right.
The way I hear the municipalities and bonuses, the way I interpreted what was stated, which could be wrong, is it should not be a standard. Okay, my husband's private company, he gave out bonuses to everybody, different bonus levels for everybody, but everybody got a bonus every Christmas.
But there's a
For many
criteria
years.
or plan
Right,
to hit a
but,
certain whatever. Yes.
but we are not doing this for every employee, and we're not even doing it every year. We have a year where salary is under by almost $90,000, and there were instances where people have clearly covered that salary loss with their hours without compensation. And I am all for not spending money, but I agree that something is deserved in this situation.
You talking about your husband or this?
In this situation, I'm saying, as a private business, I didn't give any actual numbers. No, that he, yeah, no, these guys saved $90,000 in salary this year. We are under budget right now by $90,000.
Oh.
96, to be exact.
90, there you go.
96.
Yeah, we are under budget. So yes, these people have clearly worked the hours that weren't being paid to other people. And we are way under budget. Don't get me wrong, we need to be under budget, but I
So we
believe
saved
that
money?
we saved money.
But we,
Dave, I like the way you said it. That's what I was trying to say. You said it in a better way than I
yeah, but
could.
we're just in one category.
Separating the two
If you
from
look at the other
private to public
categories,
sectors.
We blew
You
the
know,
doors
I
off
did
the
the same
place
thing.
in some
I'd
cases.
fly out on a Sunday to be somewhere, or I'd come back on a Saturday morning from some place,
Hey,
that I've been
I
on.
did
Yeah,
that
the
for
public
39
sector
years,
should not
so
be giving out
I don't-
salaries
you don't
every
get- I
year.
don't get pity.
I didn't get it either.
I don't get-
Right, but
Anyway,
that was part of your jobs, it wasn't in
Exactly.
addition to what
All right,
your jobs
we're
were.
starting to
But-
talk in
right.
circles.
So-
We need to finish up on it, get an action item and move it to Michelle, whatever we're gonna give her or not give her. I don't think I sense that there's a motion just to say 10,000 to everyone she's recommended. I don't think that's gonna fly. Am I right?
I agree to that.
Okay, and I won't agree to that either. But she may deserve 12 for pulling in for the fire chief. Or 13, she may be selling herself short.
Yep.
Maybe a Jim Babb who's kind of transitioned some of his stuff over to Greg
But he's not-
deserves less.
He's not getting a bonus, only those 4 people.
right,
You're looking at,
I'm looking at
salary
salaries.
increases. She's only, she addressed
You're right.
Phyllis.
Phyllis, Greg, Melissa, and
Yeah.
Michelle.
Only 4.
I'm sorry, I take it back.
That's okay.
I-
So we've
Well, I'm just
already,
saying I think there may be different reasons for different amounts. And I think it's more easily justified to the public, carrying through in your comment, Dave, than just saying, okay, give everybody flat 10. Good, because we're under budget. Well, that's under budget, no, we're under budget in this category.
Right.
We're not under budget.
Exactly.
in a lot of other-
that's not an argument, that's not an argument.
Well, it's an argument, it kind of rings a little hollow because of our overall budget position.
but it reflects our not having hired other people to do the work that they've had to take on.
I agree with that.
So it does reflect it.
I could pull over that. The other thing that she was mentioning with all these, to me, a salaried person, I should try to improve do a new spreadsheet, do whatever. Those are continuing things that people in salary positions should be doing all the time. You don't pay them extra money for that.
I don't disagree with you, but when do we have time to focus on the future when we can barely keep up with what's going on today?
Well,
Well, the people he's talking about are people that go home at night and think, there's 4 people doing the same job I'm doing. How do I get ahead of them? I'm going to, instead of watching the Three Stooges, I'm going to come up with a new website and take it into the office and show my boss what I did when I wasn't getting paid to do it. And he says, wow, you're really on the ball. You don't have to just be within the 8 hours you work to do something extra. People do things extra. That's why they get promoted and become really great geniuses.
We shouldn't expect these folks to work 12-hour days, 5 days a week. We should not.
I don't think that's happening. I'm sorry.
You don't think Michelle and Melissa work that? You don't?
I'm
Thursday night.
Well, we're not saying,
I don't
maybe some people are, but I'm sure some people aren't. So that's why we need
Well, I think
a fluctuation in with the bonus.
I think that Michelle, discussing with other members of the staff, can come up with metrics and put some numbers to them and customize the bonus based on those metrics. I think what Rick said right out the doors is very accurate. Now, he wants to apply in the future, not in the past, but still, there's no reason we can't apply them.
If we have 62 boroughs in the state of Pennsylvania, obviously, they all have exactly what we're looking for, which is give me a cross-section across the state of Pennsylvania. It's borough managers, assistant managers, borough council people, the dog catcher. All the people are there and they have them. And we could look at them and see whether or not, oh my God, Michelle deserves $250,000 and we're shortchanging her by 120 grand. I don't begrudge anybody anything, but I know what my salary structure looked like, and I knew what the commissioner's schedule was, because it's there, and you can see it. So we should be able to get that, look at it, and not make it up ourselves and feel bad for people yet.
But that's the base salary.
We don't, base salary is what it is.
A survey where
Created
the
it.
borough manager also took on the job of the fire chief?
We created the base salary. Let's see the base salaries for everybody else in that job and see if they're underpaid.
Ron, there is an advantage to a bonus, is it's not figured into the base salary,
Yeah.
and therefore it's not part of the increase, it's
Well,
not part of, you know,
That's
it's-
the
Very
merry-go-round.
arbitrary concept.
Well, that's why I'm trying to add the metrics to
Very,
it.
very arbitrary.
It could be. And it could be, you know, who, I don't,
I'm doing
Michelle, like,
work, I get,
who likes somebody and who doesn't like somebody, who knows, I can,
you're digging yourself a hole, I'm sorry.
I get it, but we're going around in circles here. What are we gonna do?
Is it possible to make a motion that bonuses, the conversation of bonuses be moved on to finance? And perhaps a little bit more information gets sent over to finance, or the specifics of what sort of people have done and what extra hours, what savings, what this, that, or the other, you know, by tomorrow morning.
We're kind of, I think we're kind of dumping our job on them.
No, just why, I'm trying to dump the job on finance.
I know.
They're gonna have the same conversation that we're having.
What we should give, I think, following on what Janice said about the other thing, I think we should have, that we're contemplating bonuses of X dollars total,
But that's
and
not
then
this
puts it
year's
into,
budget.
put it into,
That's in this
Yeah,
year's budget.
it's in this
Not
year's
next year.
budget.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
in-
yeah, yeah,
That
right.
doesn't, it's not part of the budget.
you're right, you're right, it's not for next year.
I still need to approve it, and then it needs to go to council.
Yes,
So,
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
David, thank you for your comment.
Thank you, David.
In finance,
I appreciate it.
thank you.
I don't want to dump it on finance, but I think they need to have some guides so they know what the amount, the 96 is now going to be 46, you know, 26, 86, they got to know that to come up with an overall budget estimate.
Well, but it's part of this year's.
I know, but
But it's gonna change our starting, our,
still, it's going to charge what's left over.
But the concept is what
Well-
we're having trouble with, not the amount.
I keep
Well, I think it's both. I'm hearing both. I'm hearing you have a concept problem with it. I don't think anyone else has a concept problem with it as much as it should be more detailed.
And we need
And
to, because we need to
tailored.
justify
did you
it.
take over, was it?
I mean,
Whatever the date of the July fire and police meeting.
and I'll go along with,
Did it that day.
And what happens if we do look at this survey and we do come up and see that she is being underpaid for similar budgets? You know, that's something else we got to look at and get to finance and make sure that's made right.
Well, I would be happier if I knew
Yeah.
that I was doing the right thing.
Yeah, I understand.
Find out we did the wrong thing after the fact.
Yeah.
you know, just my personal feeling and thoughts. I'm looking at these four names. There is no question that Michelle and Melissa have, you know, carried 60% of the load, if not more, of what's going on in this building. No question. Do I think they should get the same bonus as Phyllis and Greg? No, for exactly what the reasons I just said. I think we can take a sum and then divide it between, if that's what you want to do. But I think the justifications, we need something more so we can justify it to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I just don't know what metric I'm possibly gonna come up with. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, Jen, I don't know if it was you or Fred that suggested a percentage of someone's salary. That's the only thing I can come up with, but then you still have to justify.
That's very arbitrary too.
Exactly.
I think yours is probably the easiest, Melissa's is probably the second easiest to do, in my mind. It's about that you're taking on an extra job that someone else got paid for is not getting paid for.
No, but I
You're
could
doing it.
I could make the argument for Phyllis that what she is part of for grant reimbursement alone helps us get millions of dollars. So that's, I mean, it's not apples.
But isn't that her part of her job?
Right. It wasn't before.
Grants, we only really started going after grants in 2021. They were not a thing before that. The borough used to pride itself on touting that we didn't apply for grants.
We're arguing,
With your description of what she has to do to run payroll, I hope we look at look at the option of an outside payroll company.
We used to do one. That's doing everything through ISOL. But there still has to be a live human being that's interpreting, this person works in police department, is FTO, worked overtime on Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah,
so we should pay people more if they're doing, if she started out shining shoes and now she's doing everything and she's not getting any more money, then we're making a mistake.
Correct.
But we don't know if we're making a mistake because we don't know what everybody else in the world is making. And, you know, I feel
Or
bad.
doing.
Or doing. I feel badly for all the people that we're shortchanging. And it sounds like everybody is getting screwed here. We need to give bonuses and raises. And we have no idea if we're getting scammed, because if you don't know what everybody else is making, maybe that's your job to tell us what everybody else is making, including people like you, so that when we see what you make and we're looking at it and saying everybody else is making 200 grand, we feel really bad for you.
In the beginning of the meeting, Michelle did state that they were in the middle to upper level compared to
I don't know what
other.
that means. Middle to upper level. I wanna
They
see a
were,
number.
so if there's 100 people, they're in the 70th percentile.
They-
You
and
can
they
get
have
the list of everybody.
Right,
in the
and
borough.
It has a range from 0 up to say 150,000, and it'll show you the median is here for boroughs of this size.
She
Why
says
is
they
there a
are mid to
reluctance
high.
about asking the people that run the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the paperwork that tells you what everybody makes in Allentown and in.
I don't think there is a reluctance. Nobody.
We
We
already agreed that we have to get that out.
Well, let's get that before we have to make.
No one's making
Clear,
it.
it is for boroughs only, so it's not gonna include townships
All right.
or cities.
All the boroughs, that's great, that's a good start. And once we have it, we can make up our minds really fast.
But that has to do with base salary.
Yeah, that doesn't.
And we agreed on that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. But if we've agreed on that, then we can't slip into another event and do bonuses.
Yeah,
That's
we
the whole
can.
point.
Because bonuses are for work which is not recurring. It's for extraordinary increases in work which, please God, are temporary.
And that's a whole other subject that we need to.
But that's what the
Well, that's-
bonus.
that's what we're talking about.
Well, that gets into the Greg situation and the Jim Babb situation.
Not Jim
No,
Babb.
Jim Babb's off. That was my
No.
mistake, Ron.
He's
It's
off.
Phyllis, Greg, Melissa, and
4
Michelle.
people.
4.
I'm not talking about Jim Babb because he's not on the list. I'm talking about Jim Babb because he's not on the list.
Well, you see, you'd sent resentment, you know.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. If I was here for 30 years and somebody that was my junior and works for me is going to get a bonus,
But he's taken over responsibilities Jim
That's
wasn't
true.
doing right,
well, that's.
or wasn't doing.
Well, I guess if Jim knows he's not doing his job right.
Well, then he
maybe
doesn't
Jim
deserve a
won't be here
raise.
next week.
Doesn't deserve a raise.
Right.
Well, there had to be a transition period.
Well, I agree.
That's one of the inefficiencies that we have here. I don't think there's any way around it.
That's a complex job.
Public Works is just, everything's thrown in there except admin, fire, and police. The rest is Public Works. Well, this has been an exciting meeting.
So what are we doing about?
So we need to figure out what the heck's going on. And then we have a position descriptions.
So I guess Michelle needs to come back, what are we gonna table it, and Michelle's gonna come back with recommendations according
Based on some type of
Well,
criteria, but you need to get the
Bill
information.
said he believes that Michelle and Melissa have done 60% of the work. So out of that $40,000, that's $24,000. I think on top of that, there should be additional for Michelle because she's taken on fire police. Yes, the fire police. You got me screwed up now.
Sorry.
The fire chief role. So I think that 24,000 should go in this direction, probably with some additional, which leaves the other 16,000 for Phyllis and Gray. Considering Bill stated that these two will probably put in 60% of all the extra work, that would be where I would get a number.
I'd go along with that.
I can't do it without seeing some.
Well, yeah, that, I
It's
just.
not a bad, it's not a bad.
I like the concept,
Yeah.
but I pulled that number out of the air, 60%.
Right, but yeah, that's just, I took that number and go, all right, well.
Right.
here you
I
go.
like your concept.
But we don't know if the bonus pool of 40 is even right. That's
I think-
another,
I understand that.
I would-
But it's something we could at least give ideas and say, all right, this is where we think we are, but we need to go further tomorrow.
Well,
And this, conversation's gonna start all over at the beginning again.
I would propose that Michelle go back to the drawing board and make another recommendation for next month's, considering the comments that.
with explicit criteria,
If she can think of any.
whatever it might be.
Is there some amount you could give me that I'm dividing up?
No,
Well, I would say ballpark 50.
Would be more helpful if you were to articulate the sets of circumstances that were outside the scope of your normal operating.
yeah, that's the criteria that we need to see.
Criteria.
Right.
I agree.
Telling me we should give you $15,000 and not telling the public why, they're gonna come knocking on your door and say, what do you do with my tax dollars?
But she did tell us
I would use your number of 40,000,
50.
40,000, 10 per person.
50 because she's shortchanging herself on the fire chief.
Yeah, I was taking that 40 and splitting it 60-40, but then also
Okay.
add on top of it for
Okay.
Michelle, because she's
Then
taking
go-
on an entire other.
I was going to go,
Don't use a number, because we should back into the pool if we're gonna
Right.
have it.
That's
Not start one automatically and hack it up. And that's not gonna be easy for her to do. I hate to do this to you, especially at this time of year. But I just don't know how else I can do, I can't justify it otherwise.
yeah, we just need to know where you came up with the number
Right.
and what that number is. And then we can go from there.
The justification for the number was simply that we all have different jobs. We all have different directions we're pulled in because of the differences in our jobs. I don't think what I bring to the table is necessarily any more than what Melissa or Phyllis or Greg. The only thought in my head is the four of us all went above and beyond this year. And I think I demonstrated verbally the ways each of us individually did. I don't think one went above and beyond more than another, so the thought was simply split it evenly amongst the four of us. That was the justification.
Okay, well, if that's her recommendation, then I'm not saying I totally agree, but
I understand where it comes from. I get what you're trying to do, but I just sitting here voting for it, and then trying to justify it to a taxpayer. It's very, very, very difficult,
yeah.
I understand that side too.
very difficult.
I understand.
Especially right now, where all eyes are on us.
Yeah, for the next 2 weeks.
Of the three members of your team, but I think you're shortchanging yourself. I think you shortchange yourself.
I think she is too.
Salary, And
Yeah.
I think you've got to think you need to recognize yourself as a rep.
It would make.
I appreciate that. It is somewhat hard to do in general, much less in public, and knowing we are taxpayer funded. The biggest thing I have had an issue with in my 17 years at the borough, long before I was manager, was watching people get rewarded for bad behavior financially. There were, I'm not gonna name names, but there were a lot of people who were not called to the carpet for the things that they weren't doing, and instead it was, here's a 3% raise, here's a $5,000 bonus. And until the proverbial, pardon my French, shit hit the fan, it just kept going. So I have a very hard time, because my sense of justice is very high, of, I think, saying I deserve more than what I'm making, because I know I do a good job. I know I work very hard. I know we all go above and beyond, but it is still hard publicly, knowing we are taxpayer funded, and I can't just make more money by selling another product or increasing our prices, saying, give me more money. Like, that's just not who I am.
You earned it. The point is you earned it.
You took on two jobs. I mean,
Yes.
it's kind of clear. But then we need to see the comparisons of the borough and what else is in the motion, and justifications for.
I'm gonna move, we table
It would make a lot more sense if we just had said at one meeting, call it whichever one of the tic-tac-toe meetings we have, but have a meeting and say, what's on the agenda is approving the concept that Michelle Bear will now be the acting fire chief until such time as we find another one, and should be paid the amount of $10,000 or whatever it
We didn't
is.
do that, so.
We should have done that.
it. Well, we did.
We did.
Let's move
We did.
forward.
Instead of trying to fill in the hole now and say,
Well, we could
she's the
put-
assistant fire chief.
I agree with you, but we're still capable of doing that in an accurate way.
Okay, all right, well, that's,
I believe we are.
articulate that, because just to give her money and
That's
say.
what we were asking her to do. She articulated. Give us as
So
many
let's-
justifications as possible for each bonus. Don't define a pool.
You might
Just-
remember that I suggested 3,000 a month.
Again, I'll make the motion that we table this pending the information that we've requested.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion, and please say no.
No.
The horse is dead. You know, it has been dead for
Over.
Again, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Hell yes.
Aye. Ayes have it. 6,
Thought we'd never get here.
I didn't think we'd get here either. These are very detailed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melissa and I have talked for probably a year now about creating a secondary position out in the reception area. Higher level, can assist her with right to know, potentially other departments with different clerical administrative work that needs to be done. Also is the backup person for the receptionist when they're on vacation, they're sick, their lunch breaks. So Melissa took the time to, spend several months thinking what all would go into that. I'm looking at the wrong one, sorry. Didn't have the administrative.
If you find a person for that position, you'll be some of the luckiest people there are. Because I don't know how anyone can fit in there. It's gonna be a miracle. I mean, I admire you for having that starting position, but it's gonna be tough.
I mean, it took us a while to get the right receptionist, but I think we finally got there.
That's good.
Yeah.
I would make them, I've already read them today. Any
Right.
questions or anything further?
I've read them, and that's fine. That's what you're,
That's what she's there for.
that's what you're looking for, and
We wouldn't know it.
The receptionist or,
End of this one.
So,
These are both with or without, I just want to make sure that language is part-time.
yes. So the receptionist is currently at, good thing we talked too much about salaries, I can't even, right? So she would, at a 4% raise, be at 25 next year. She's currently at 24 an hour. The idea is this administrative support person would be doing higher level, more confidential things, therefore bring them in at a higher rate between 26 to 27.
Yeah.
And then that was again also the justification for bumping Kathy.
It's almost like we have the county office support 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. This would be a two.
How much would
That's
that for the budget?
straight nutsiness, but
I know you need
there's a sense to it.
You want a motion to accept these?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll
them.
second it.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, and Ron is absent temporarily.
The position
There he is.
in the draft budget, so, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna do anything until the budget's passed, that we even know we have approval to move forward with it.
On even, did you get a chance to look at these administrative support and receptionist things? Are you okay with them?
Yeah, I think, the only point I have is, I think we should hire somebody who wants to be a real key to the operation here at that front desk. If you call and say, give me Fred Vogel's phone number, they don't say, who the hell's he? They have it,
That's,
they have a
that's what that is.
functional job.
That's what that administrative
But
support.
also that they
person
don't
would
give
do.
out.
Okay.
More importantly, do not give them the phone number.
Jen and Janet.
Right.
Yeah. So
We approved that while you're out.
Good.
All right. All right, he acquiesces in that. Is there any executive session?
Thank God.
Okay, consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you.